Hey everybody, it's 580, week number 4. So, there's a lot going on. Let's jump right into it. Um, so, first thing, reading chapters 3 and 4. Talked a little bit about the week 3 readings last week. The one thing I want to highlight as you're evaluating literature for your lit review, there are 3 things you want to look at when evaluating. So, relevance, does it actually help with what your question's going to be? The credibility, is it an actual research paper? If not, like, is there good data? And if it is a research paper, look at that data, and is that data valid? Do they do a good job with that? And then similarity, does it actually tie in with what you're hoping to do for your action research? All right, chapter 4 looks a lot about the actual logistics of planning and running research. Um, Hold off on that a little bit. You definitely want to look at that. Please read that. Know that that's coming up, but you actually don't need to jump in and talk with your site leaders just yet. That's going to happen quite soon. Um, there's also a plane going overhead that usually doesn't happen. So if you hear that, that's what's going on. As we look at chapter 4, not chapter 4, week 4, there's a learning module that walks you through the peer review. Um, if you look at that icon, that's like the big, bold, black font with the yellowish, mustardy looking arrow thing, and you're like, yeah, that looks like it was made 20 years ago. I'm going to skip that. If that is you, please do not skip it this week. It walks you through peer review, walks you through tracking changes. You need to be using Microsoft Word um, for the tracking of changes. So if you've been trying to get around that, this is not the moment to do that. In the weekly announcement, I walk you through the steps of that. There's also it's called Assignment 3 Peer Review. There's a lot of details that you need to make sure to get just right. So please go slowly and carefully through the Google Doc titled Assignment 3 Peer Review. Um, I'll give you kind of the cliff notes, but please read it and follow, particularly the timing just right, because a classmate is going to be relying on you, and you're going to be relying on a classmate for this assignment. So the goal, if we take just a step back, I'll even lean back because I said back. Um, if there's 2 of you, you're going to have about 20, at least 20 resources in your lit review. 3 people, 30. At this point, by week 4, you should have about 5 pages, 3 to 6 pages, maybe even more than 6 pages of lit review, and at this point, you should have at least 10 sources, and that's per person, per student. So for you, you should have at least 10 resources, at least 3 pages, probably in the closer 5 to 6 page range. You're going to take that, you're going to make sure that's in Word as a Word doc, and you're going to submit that into the discussion board. There's a link in my announcement. There's also a link in the week 4 page where it says discussion week 4. When you click on discussion week 4, there are going to be 2 different threads. One of them is document submission / retrieval. This is where you're going to post. So as you click on that, you can actually pop in. You can reply to me if you're able to create a thread. I don't know what it looks like really on your end. You're likely going to reply and say, here we go. As you do that, please give them a heads up as to what you're lit reviewing, right? Give them, a nice summary, a nice title. And then as a recipient, and the groups are in that in the weekly announcement, right? So you'll look and see who your buddy is. There's one group of 3, so you'll kind of do a rotation thing. You'll see who your person is. You'll wait for them to post on Thursday. You will download, use Word, to track changes and post that Sunday by midnight. It's kind of the mechanics of it. Take a look at the Google Doc titled Assignment 3. It gives you tips on what to review and also walks you through more details on the mechanics of the process of uploading to look for your buddy, and then as you use track changes to give feedback, uploading so that your buddy your partner has it. A couple things to point out as you're giving feedback. Make sure to look at the rubric, the Chapter 2 rubric, so you know what is going to be assessed as you go through it. Like really, really take the time to go through it and give thoughtful feedback. Look at the AP formatting, look at the higher level and see, like, does this tell a story? Does this connect with your buddy's research question and action research data that they're going to be collecting? But also really get down into it and be really critical of what each sentence is going to be, and help out with AP formatting, help out with grammar at this point. This is a chance to really get some feedback that has gone through with a very fine-tooth comb, in a way that with 20 students would take me 40 hours to give you this. More than that, right? If each person's spending 4 hours on it, that's an 80-hour day for me, and there aren't 80 hours in the day. So expect kind of that level of feedback that you're going to be giving, but then also that level that you're going to be receiving. If you haven't spent time ever or in a long time going through research or a lit review, or really kind of critically grading graduate level work, this is the time to really dig in and give that critical feedback, knowing that that person is really going to take your suggestions, and it's really going to take it from like, okay, this was pretty good work, to like, all right, this is like my capstone project. This is very close to being ready for Chapter 2. That's what we're looking for with that. I understand that you guys are taking it seriously as we go along, but like, this is the moment to like really dig in, really take it seriously. And that's the peer review. That's the big thing. If we look ahead, Chapter 1 is due at the end of week 5. Chapter 2, which is your lit review, including the references, are also due at the end of week 5. So things are going to start moving incredibly quickly. And with that, if your group wants to meet with me, there's a couple options. You can email me and request a specific time. If you want it to be later, Thursdays are a time where I can meet much later than usual. Otherwise, there's a link I have shared before. It's through You Can Book Me, so bselec.youcanbook.me, and that actually pulls my work calendar and shows my availability throughout the week. So if there's a time that the 2 or 3 of you can meet during the school day, that works for me, particularly if it's after school, like in the 3:30 to 5 o'clock time. The You Can Book Me calendar, I think, is 8 to 5 or 8 to 4. 4 to 5 p.m. is something that tends to work nearly every day for me for meeting. And then if we need to meet late, Thursdays are a great day for that. If there's any other time where you guys just really need to meet using Blackboard Collaborate, let me know, shoot me an email, and we can kind of get that discussion going to find similar times. If we look at the entire 8 weeks, your group is expected to either meet with me or use the threaded discussion to in your group, right? Not just the discussion board, but your group discussion board, in a thoughtful, like, here's what we did to meet, and here's our next steps. And always, as always, if you have specific questions, please reach out to me. I look at those mainly with the lens of making sure you guys are still on track. I don't get messaged when you post, so if you post and say, hey Bill, we have a question, the group message board is a bad place to do that. Email is a great way to do that. Social media is a good way to do that. I think email is the best when you have a question for me. So if you don't want to meet the live meeting, use your group discussion board under groups. I think that's where we're at. Reach out with questions. Don't forget about the learning module, that old school play button, the mustard looking arrowy thing. Yeah, happy week for everybody.